Hey travel friends! Today I want to talk to you about a personal trip that my husband and I were able to take this summer. It was an Adventures by Disney trip, and I know a lot of you have been very interested in these type of vacations. This trip was out to Wyoming, and I can't wait to share with you all of our experiences that we had on this Adventures by Disney trip. Krystie with Memorable Destinations, and I'm here today with a special guest that I'm going to be interviewing. It's my husband, Stirling.
Hi guys.
We went on a vacation to Wyoming this summer. It was a Adventures by Disney vacation, and this was a vacation that I have always dreamed of going on. I've planned so many other guests to go on these Adventures by Disney trips, and every time I would plan these trips I would get so jealous. I wanted to go on these vacations. I was looking at the itinerary, I was looking at the all the destinations and all the just fun things that you get to do on these vacations, and I was always jealous. And so when the opportunity came this summer for my husband and I to get to go, we were over the moon excited about going.
Absolutely. I mean, this was a bucket list item for me. I've always wanted to go to Wyoming, and I've always wanted to go to Yellowstone in particular. So I jumped at the opportunity to go on an Adventures by Disney trip.
Yeah. And so a couple of weeks before our trip began, the excitement was already building, and we went shopping and bought all types of clothing for the trip. And because in Wyoming in the middle of June, that's when we went, it was not quite the same as the weather that we have here in Alabama, was
it? No, not at all.
So we had to prepare for that. We had to go and shop and get some warmer clothes and shoes and socks and fun stuff.
Hiking stuff as well as, just stuff to enjoy the great outdoors in.
Yeah. And so a couple weeks before, we got this handy dandy little adventure handbook, and in it was telling us all of the different things that we would need to pack and all the tips and things we needed to know before we traveled. So it came in a really nice box. It had this bag. Very, very nice. I see a lot of documents come through my office all the time, and these are by far some of the nicest documents that I have seen. This nice bag, really nice leather luggage tags. So I was very impressed from the very beginning, before we even arrived to Wyoming, about these document holders and the luggage tags and just all the information that they gave us prior to even going. So with that said, I think we should get on to talking about the trip. What do you think?
Absolutely.
Okay, so day one, we arrived in Jackson Hole. Tell me what you thought the moment well, wait a minute, back up. Tell me what you thought, like maybe the hour before we even arrived in Jackson Hole. What did you see out the window?
Oh, I mean, it's just the picturesque, scenery of the Great Plains of the United States coming up on the mountains of the Rocky Mountains, and you're kind of right when you're leading up into coming into Jackson Hole. You're literally in the range of the Rocky Mountains, and you're dropping down into this hole, so to speak. I mean, it's a valley, and then so that's where your plane is landing, in this lush green environment right between the mountain ranges, and it's remarkable.
I think we were definitely the tourists on the airplane, because I let him have a window seat, but I was like all the way over with my camera trying to take pictures and video of what I was seeing out of the airplane. So I totally looked like a tourist, but that's okay. I was just in awe of what I was seeing out of the window. Now, what about the turbulence? There was a little bit of turbulence.
There was a lot of turbulence. Every time we've flown over the Rocky Mountains, we've always experienced that turbulence, and it was a lot. We've flown a lot, so we've kind of gotten used to it. And, there were some people on the flight that were a little uneasy. But, I mean, it's just something that you come to expect when you're crossing over the mountain range.
Yeah, for sure. But what about when we landed right there at the airport in Jackson Hole? What did you think about that?
Oh, it's just amazing. So you land in Jackson Hole and you get off the plane. It's not like your bigger airports where you've got you're jumping off the plane into a ramp and you're not even really seeing the outside. is completely different in Jackson Hole. You get off the plane and you literally can look just to your left and you see the most beautiful mountain range that you've ever seen, and the lush valley below, and then just a beautiful airport. Really kind of a unique experience for me.
Yeah, because a lot of people who have flown into like the Caribbean or whatever, you fly into an outdoor terminal. Basically, there's no ramp that brings you into the building. You walk down the stairs, you're outside. And so as soon as we got off the plane, we immediately, we came from this almost 100-degree weather, and then all of a sudden we get off the airplane and that cool crisp air just hits you. And it's like it's
dry air.
For sure, dry air. And it was just so refreshing to feel that crispness. And I remember just, I don't know, taking a deep breath as I got off the plane, and it was like, we have arrived. And then the mountains were right there. I was just really shocked at how the plane lands literally right next to the mountains. It's the only airport in a national park. So that was a little tip that we learned, that Jackson Hole is the only airport inside of a national park.
Major airport.
Oh, well. Anyways, I thought that was a really neat tip. So, so we land, we go inside, and that's when we are first greeted by our adventure guides. It was Lori.
Yeah.
Lori was there. She's just the sweetest
bundle of energy.
Yeah, she was, but she was so sweet. But she was just like, "Hi, I'm Lori," and it was just like.
And you know that it's you. They've got your name on a plaque, and they've got the Adventures by Disney paddle, and that's the first time we've ever been introduced to that. And you'll learn that when you go and do an Adventures by Disney trip. They have a little paddle that's got Adventures by Disney, and you follow that paddle wherever you go.
Yeah, and it was like she already knew who we were. Like maybe she had studied our pictures or something, because as soon as we walked up, she was like, "Hi, Krystie. Hi, Stirling," and we were like, "Hey." So anyways, they had somebody there waiting to get our luggage for us off of the
driver.
Yeah, they had a private driver for us, and it was just him and I in the car with the private driver. So it wasn't like we were waiting around for hours for the rest of people to come in. It was, we felt like we were the only ones. So I felt very I don't know, special, like VIP.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, very VIP-like. And it was a very nice SUV that picked us up, and he gave us a lot of history of Jackson Hole as he was taking us to our hotel, which was the Wart Hotel. What did you think about the Wart Hotel?
The Wart is awesome. It's what you would picture a luxury Wild West hotel to look like. You walk into the room, and it's like this beautiful wood, just somewhat rustic, but in a very luxury style way. And it's just an amazing step back in time, because the Ward is one of the oldest hotels in Jackson Hole.
Yeah, for sure.
And one of the nicest. I guess it was the first 5-star hotel for Wyoming.
Yeah, the first 5-star hotel in Wyoming. So. Did you get a chance to look at the doors?
Oh gosh, yes. The doors have these amazing carvings on them. So when you're walking down the hallway and you're going towards your rooms, if you look to the right or left, then you'll see just the suites that are there, and each suite is named, and each name has a corresponding carving to the wood. Absolutely stunning.
Like a hand carved. Like it would be a cowboy on one of the suites, and I think one of the suites was called the Cowboy Suite.
Yep.
And the door going into the suite was this beautiful, intricate, carved door, and then there was the cowgirl room or cowgirl suite.
Right.
And it was the same. They were beautiful, like works of art on the doors, going into your suite. So that was really interesting. I loved looking around at all the different carvings.
And the main atrium of the lobby, I guess you would say, had the magnificent oil paintings that are all of Jackson Hole and some of the wildlife and the scenery that you see around there. And so if you go, make sure to kind of take it all in and really appreciate the artistry that is in that hotel.
Sure. Another thing that we got to do that day was we were able to meet our other adventure guide. So we had 2 adventure guides. So we met Lori at the airport, and once we got back, we got to meet Stephanie. Yeah, Stephanie. And she was so sweet. We loved both of our adventure guides, and they just really started to walk us through what the week was going to look like. And I don't know, I was giddy from the get-go. What did you think about the dinner that we had that night?
Oh, dinner was great. I mean, so when you first get there, you have a meet and greet dinner. And I'll be honest with you, when I first heard about Adventures by Disney, I kind of learned about the concept of having a group vacation. I was a little standoffish. I mean, I didn't know what to expect. The meet and greet dinner was fantastic because it allows you to meet everyone else that's in your group. And they have some icebreaker games and things like that allow you to kind of get to know everybody, know where they're from, what their background is, and kind of just really jump starts the week.
Right, yeah. And I feel the same as you. That was probably one of the biggest holdbacks maybe that I had is we've always just traveled just with either him and I, or maybe our family, or maybe another couple that we're close friends with. So we've never actually gone on a group guided trip before where other couples or other families were joining us that we didn't know. So I was a little apprehensive about that, and
stepping out of my comfort zone a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that first night, you could start to see the layers and the shell start to unfold and open, and people started to, as we got to know each other a little bit more, and honestly playing the icebreaker game and just being silly and laughing and enjoying a meal together really helped us start to feel more comfortable with the scenery, the setting of a group travel.
And you can really tell the people who have done multiple Adventures by Disney trips because they fit right in. And you can tell the ones that were their first time because we stuck out like 4 thumbs.
Yeah, we were the quiet ones in the back, not saying much at first and just keeping to ourselves.
They really kind of draw you in and force your participation. So even if you're a shy person like me, they really kind of force you to get out there and force you to mingle and force you to learn about everybody else, which is really nice.
Yeah, but it wasn't, I think you enjoyed that. You enjoy being pushed out of your comfort zone a little bit.
Yeah, I think so.
It was a great experience. So, anything else that we want to talk about night 1? Oh, we got to go tour the city a little bit on day 1.
So after your dinner, which was great, by the way, they have one of the chefs there at the hotel kind of cater you a really nice meal with a glass of wine, and it was just a really nice dinner. So after that, we got to go and we explored downtown Jackson Hole, which is a great city. One of my favorite cities. It's just a lot of quaint little shops, a lot of history. Just a fun place to get out and really explore.
Yeah, I remember that night was the first day that I got to experience the Huckleberry Taffy. It's, for some reason, Huckleberry is a
staple.
Yes, it's everywhere. Yeah, Huckleberry ice cream, Huckleberry Taffy, Huckleberry beer. There was Huckleberry everything, and I don't think I've ever even had Huckleberry before.
I have. You have some places in South Alabama where you make huckleberry pie, and that's what my grandmother used to make. So for me, it was like going back to South Alabama and having a little piece of history. But yeah, it's really something that is unique to that area as to how much they embrace it.
Yeah, and I made such a big deal about how good the taffy was because I was like, oh my gosh, this taffy's so good. And then I made it a mission to go around to the other little shops and try to find the same taffy that I had that was so good, and I couldn't find it. And so finally I went to our adventure guide Stephanie and I was like, where did you find that taffy? That one was so good. And she gave me her bag. Yep. She was so sweet. But we'll get more to all the fun little things that they do for you and how they make your trip just extra special. We'll get to that later.
Yep.
But yeah, that was a great start to day 1.
Absolutely.
So day 2, we woke up after a great night's sleep, and they had breakfast for us. It was included. It was at the Silver Dollar Cafe, which is it's part of the Wart Hotel. So it was right there, connected. We didn't have to leave or go anywhere. It was right there. And what sticks out to me the most about the Silver Dollar Cafe was it's named the Silver Dollar Cafe
For a reason.
For a reason, yeah. How many silver dollars?
I think it was over 1,600 silver dollars.
Yeah, if you look really closely, everywhere, the tables,
The whole bar top of the bar.
Yeah, everywhere there was silver dollars all throughout the restaurant, and it was really just, they had like this shellac over it, obviously, so you couldn't steal it, but they were everywhere, and I thought that was a really cool touch to the and just it all ties it back into that Wild West feel and silver dollars. I don't know, I thought that was really neat.
Yeah, absolutely. And the food was awesome too. I mean, the orange juice.
Oh yeah, the orange juice. It was that was a very popular item with our group. Everybody raved about the freshly squeezed orange juice, and I love some fresh squeezed orange juice. I'm not gonna lie, I drink it all the time, and that fresh squeezed orange juice,
different.
It was different.
It was very good.
I think they must have flew in those oranges that morning or something. It was amazing. The way I don't know how they did it. I wish I could have snuck in the back of the kitchen and figured that little secret out. But that was great. So after we had a little bit of a break after breakfast for a while, but then we had to meet before lunch at the Jackson Hole Playhouse. You want to talk about the Jackson Hole Playhouse for a little bit?
So Jackson Hole Playhouse is this really small playhouse that's in Jackson Hole, and it's actually the oldest building in downtown Jackson Hole, and it's got a really fun history. The playhouse itself actually started out as a barn, and so they would have the stables and everything for when they would transfer tourists into the national park, and that's where they would keep the carts and the horses and all of that. And then once we became motorized, and they would also have the cars there, so the horses left and everything else with that, then it was a garage. And then someone had the bright idea of, let's bring Broadway-style shows to the Wild West style and Broadway.
Didn't it also become at some point before the Broadway shows? Didn't it also, wasn't like a bowling alley?
Yeah.
At one time, because it was like a slanted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it had been several different things before it finally became what it is now, which is the Jackson Hole Playhouse.
So one of the interesting parts about the Jackson Hole Playhouse is you get to actually meet the owner and do a behind-the-scenes tour. So the owner comes out and she gives you this whole history behind the playhouse itself, behind the history of her family who've been in Jackson Hole for quite a while. And then you get to meet some of the cast.
And we also got to go actually onto the stage and try on some of the costumes and
just be silly.
Just be silly for a little bit, take some pictures, and I thought that was a lot of fun, and I think kids would really love that, getting to go. If you've ever been to, a little western town where you get to, take the old-timey pictures or anything like that, it was kind of like that, but better. Yeah. So
less hokey.
Yeah, less hokey. So anyways, we got to try on the costumes and have fun. And then after that, we came out and they had, again, lunch waiting for us. And it was served, the lunch was served by the cast member. Yeah.
They double as the wait staff during lunch. And then they treated us to a nice little serenade of a few songs, and it was really, really nice. Yeah, so as we were eating, sitting there eating, and that's when you tried the Huckleberry beer for the first time. Non-alcoholic.
Yeah, but as we were sitting there having our lunch, they would, after they've served everybody, then all of a sudden one of them picks up his guitar, it was a guitar, right? Yeah. He picks up his guitar and just starts singing, and it was beautiful. I mean, I don't even think I was thinking about eating. I was just watching them because
it was a show at that point.
It was a show. Yeah, the girls came out and they were just beautiful. Their hair was done, makeup was done, and they just came out and put on a show for us. It was like a dinner show at that point. It was really neat. I enjoyed that very much.
Yep.
So after dinner, or that was lunch actually. So after lunch,
Huckleberry ice cream for dessert.
Oh, yeah. They did, again, have Huckleberry ice cream for dessert, and it was not disappointing at all. It was great. So let's talk about a little bit what we did after lunch that day.
So after lunch, we all met up, and we went on a rafting trip, and you could either do a float trip, which was more tame, or you can do an actual whitewater rafting. and we had class 2 and 3 rapids, I think. So we went rafting down the Snake River, which was a blast. I've never been rafting before. A little bit apprehensive, but but yeah, it was fantastic.
Right. Yes. So they took us to the outfitters first, and we got to go try on our wetsuits. And like I said, neither one of us had done this before, so.
Well, we went in June, so I mean the fall had just happened. The water was high. The water was cold.
Very cold.
So they put you in a full wetsuit, so you can jump out in the water and go swimming during your rafting trip, and some people did.
Some people did, yeah.
But it made it to where it was much more enjoyable.
It was, yeah. We all had a good laugh. Everybody came out with their wetsuits on, and it was a pretty tight wetsuit. I guess that's, I mean, obviously it needs to be tight by design, yeah. But so we all had a good laugh at everybody's, wetsuits, and then we took another little bus over to where we were actually doing the rafting, and I'm not gonna lie, I was white-knuckled. I was scared at first because I'd never done it before, so I was trying to be brave. I'm like, nope, I'm gonna do this. I've always wanted to do this. This is the time we're doing it. And so, but inside I was thinking, what in the world am I? Oh my gosh! Like,
you weren't the only one.
Yeah, I was thinking, I'm going to be the one that falls out. That's going to be me. I know it. That's it. I just knew it,
So we went through several of the rapids, and the Snake River is great because it gives you these periods where you can have some downtime and kind of cut up with the crew and have some fun. But when you are on the Snake River and they tell you to row, you row. You row.
And we were getting at it too. And I don't see how the guys that were steering the raft. How do you prepare yourself to learn how to do something like that? But they were awesome. They were professionals. They knew exactly where to go and how to how to get us around.
Turn it on a dime.
They turned that raft around. It was really fun. I'm so glad we did that. And there were, if whitewater rafting isn't for you though, like Stirling said before, they did have an option that you could just do the float trip, and basically you're doing it, you're in a little boat or raft, and you're just having a nice gentle float down the water. There's no rapids or anything like that you have to worry about.
So a lot of people wanted to take pictures, and if you're a photographer and you wanted to get some photos while you're on the raft trip, that was the way to do it.
Right.
You had, not going to get much splash, and it was very gentle boat ride.
Right. Yeah. And so back on the whitewater, us that went on the whitewater part, there was this one spot on the river called the Lunchbox, and they were photographers all lined up and down, on the side of the bank taking pictures of us, and I thought, oh, that's so nice. They're all taking pictures of us.
There's a reason that they're right there.
Yeah. So the Lunchbox
eats your lunch.
It eats your lunch. Yeah. So we actually lost a girl. She
flipped out.
She flipped out, and she popped right back up and just floated on back down, and we caught her. But the photographers were able to catch all that, and so
it was a lot of fun to see it. I mean, she was fine.
Oh yeah,
she held onto her oar the whole time.
Yeah, she never let go of her oar. I was so impressed.
And so what you do is you have another boat that's behind you, and they came by and picked her up.
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah, so I think that was probably the thing I was most scared about was flipping out and falling out, which we all know can happen. You're whitewater rafting and you're just hanging on this little side. And it did happen to somebody in our boat. I'm kind of glad it wasn't me. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of glad that wasn't me, but it was still a great experience. And the girl that fell out, she thought that was just hilarious. She thought it was fun, and she enjoyed it too. So. So on day 3, this was a pretty big day. This was we were actually leaving Jackson Hole this day, so we packed all of our bags up, and we had to put our luggage outside of our door, and then we went to breakfast, and our luggage disappeared.
Yeah. One good thing about that, though, is that they give you a little tree that allows you to pack some stuff up that you want to carry on the bus with you, and so this was kind of neat. I'm going to show this to you now. So this is an Adventures by Disney thing that they give you on the first day. And so you do a lot of bus ride tours and things like that, and you don't want to carry your big luggage on the bus with you. So this is, you would think, what is it? Well,
I thought it was like an iPad holder at first.
Or a day planner.
Or a day planner,
something like that. But the cool part is that it actually, if I can get this to come apart here. There it goes. A duffel bag.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah, that was really neat.
I thought that was just a really nice little touch where they actually, gave you something that you could put your knickknacks and stuff in when you're going on the bus.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. You're not going to be able to bring your luggage on the actual bus. It goes underneath the bus. So that was something that we could just use to, throw our camera, maybe a jacket, some stuff in. And it's just very thoughtful. And I know each adventure by Disney, you get something a little different or whatever. And this one I felt like everything that we got was very thought out.
The thing I will say is, it's like the little attention to detail is what sets this trip aside from most of your tours and things like that. I mean, they think of everything. And they really make it personalized to you.
Yeah, for sure.
The traveler.
For sure. So we had our breakfast at the Silver Dollar again, and we all got that one last cup of orange juice, and we get on this beautiful bus. I don't really know that I had any expectations for what type of transportation we were going on, but it was really nice.
Yeah, very nice coach bus with video screens and wide, beautiful windows that you can see all of the surroundings in. Mm-hmm. So that was nice, and all the windows were clean. So Krystie and I are photographers, so we also love to take pictures, and that was important to us because we could actually see clearly and take some really pretty amazing pictures.
Yeah, right through the glass we took pictures, and if you've ever tried to take pictures through the glass before, it's sometimes not the best quality, and so I felt like this bus, it was even great for that. So yeah. Okay, so we went into, after we left Jackson Hole, we drove over, just a short little drive over to Grand Teton National Park.
Right.
And our first stop was
Mormon Road.
Mormon Road, that's right. And if you ever Google, historic barns.
Or just the pictures of Jackson Hole, this is kind of the landmark, place where everybody goes and takes their picture. And I guess a little history behind it, if there were Mormon settlers, and they settled right outside of the town of Jackson Hole. And so you've got these beautiful barns, these old buildings that are right there, and one of the most amazing backdrops that you'll ever see. And so we stopped for photos and have a little silly time too.
Yeah, I had a little fun jumping and holding the paddle of power there. But that was just another moment where I think that might have been one of my favorite moments, actually, was just standing there and just looking at that view of the Grand Tetons just right there in front of us, as close as we were to it, and just seeing just how beautiful it really was. A picture, you can look at a picture all day long or go online and look at something, but to just be standing there and taking that in was really special for me, for sure. So after we left there,
we went to one more little stop that was a little bit closer to the mountains, and we had some more pictures there. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a really nice little
rest area.
Yeah, like a little
or discovery center.
Right.
Yeah, that was really neat. You can go in and buy postcards. We actually bought postcards for some friends and family of ours, and we went to the little post office right there and mailed them off so it could, the kids and everybody could have something from Jackson Hole and the Grand Tetons. So,
and one of the things we didn't mention is that during this entire time you've got a naturalist who is with you, and they actually give you some of the history behind the park. They talk about how the park was formed, as far as the geological way that the mountains came up, and what makes Jackson Hole so unique is that it's just perfectly flat, and then you have these just cascading mountains that are right up against the plains. And so they kind of talk about all that, and they'll go into even more detail when they go into the Yellowstone National Park, and that's what we did next.
Yeah, for sure. And I felt like having that naturalist on the bus with us, he literally got on the bus with us and stayed with us overnight even. He stayed with our group, and he was just a wealth of information to us. He just had so much to add to the trip, and really just explained to us, how, like you said, how everything was formed. He had pictures of things. It really made the drive so much more enjoyable because he was basically talking to us the whole time and just telling us all of this interesting information about the areas that we were in, and the animals that were in the area as well. It was so fun to be driving down the road and then see a moose, literally out the window, and
Swamp donkey.
A swamp donkey, as they call it. Yeah, swamp donkey. They were outside our window as we drove by, and he started telling us information about, that's how we found out it was called a swamp donkey.
Yep.
There. So that was really, I really enjoyed having them. And I think that's one thing that sets, Adventures by Disney guided trips,
It sets them apart.
It sets them apart from some of the other guided trips is that they really take the time to not only have, two guided tour guides with you, but they also have this naturalist that comes in who's an expert in the area.
And one thing I will say about that is that, when you look at the Adventures by Disney trips, is that they contract out. These naturalists are not employees of Disney. And so what they do is they find the very best of what they do, and they bring those people in. So they have a contract with this amazing tour service that does just that. They do backpacking tours and really backcountry stuff, and that's what these naturalists do. They bring them in, and so we can have access to it, which is
yeah, we wouldn't have gotten that on our own.
No, not at all.
And probably half the things that we were able to experience and see and learn about, we would never have been able to see, if we probably wouldn't have even known to try to go find a naturalist. I mean, would you have, if we would have planned this trip on our own, would you have thought, let's hire a naturalist to come with us?
No clue.
I would no.
So I mean, that's you're in this beautiful country, and it's really unique atmosphere and landscape that is just amazing. But if you don't know the backstory behind it, you really are just gleaming over the surface of all of what it has to offer.
True.
So it truly is just an absolutely amazing place.
Yeah, for sure. So after we left the Discovery Center, we headed into the Yellowstone National Park. We made a couple of stops at the West Thumb Geyser Basin, and that was another beautiful, picturesque area. Of course, the photographer, the nature photographer in you, they nicknamed him on our trip Mr. National Geographic because he was the one walking around with the huge camera and the tripod, walking everywhere, and he was like the last one on the bus every time because he had to get, the perfect picture, and, you wanted to get all the waterfalls just perfectly, and so.
And they were very accommodating.
They were. Oh yeah, they were like, take your time, And I think everybody on our trip was actually happy that you were taking the pictures because we ended up sharing those pictures with a lot of the people on our trip. So they were appreciative of it because they didn't have to take those pictures. But our tour guides, though, they were snapping pictures the whole time.
Oh yeah, our tour guides were taking pictures behind the scenes. And that was one of the things that they told us when we first started. Said, don't worry about taking the picture. Of course, I didn't listen. But they wanted to make sure that you had the time to soak it in and not necessarily worry about pulling out your phone or pulling out a camera.
Right.
So they were doing things behind the scenes to make sure they got pictures of you engaging in the environment.
Yeah, that was really nice.
So the next thing we did after we went to the West Thumb Geyser Basin was we continued on our journey, and they actually pointed out several other things along the way, but you're spending the night in a very special place. You're spending the night at the Old Faithful Inn.
Yes, right there at the Old Faithful Inn. We were able to get out, and we got there just in time to
see Old Faithful being faithful.
It's definitely faithful, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. It was within 5 minutes, I think, of them actually predicting when it was going to erupt.
Yeah, and it actually erupted, and they know around the times that it's going to erupt, and so everybody kind of gathers around it to watch it, and that was really interesting, just to see it in person erupting that way, and just something so natural like that, just and how they're able to predict how often it erupts is amazing to me. And they gave us some history. Our naturalist, again, gave us some backstory and history on how they're able to predict that. And so that was just really, really nice to have him give us all that information. And
Old Faithful is a massive geyser, but it's not the biggest one. While we were there, we actually had one of the other geysers that only erupts about once a week that erupted, and it was huge.
Yeah.
So there's all these other little, smaller geysers and even bigger geysers that are around, and if you're lucky, then you get to see some of those erupt as well.
Right. And we had dinner that night at the Old Faithful Inn Hotel, and it was great. We enjoyed it.
Now, a little interesting fact about the Old Faithful Inn Hotel. What does it look like?
Oh, yeah. As we pulled up to it, all of us true, Disney fans, Disney World fans, immediately recognized that it looked just like the Wilderness Lodge at Disney World. So actually, the Wilderness Lodge at Disney World looked just like the Old Faithful Inn. So that one was there first. So it was just really neat to see all of the details that they, were inspired by the Old Faithful Inn, and then they put that work into the Wilderness Lodge at Disney World. So,
right.
And also too the Grand Californian out at Disneyland. Mm-hmm. So it looks very similar as well. So really, really beautiful historic hotel. So on day 4, we woke up and we again put our bags outside our door, and they were magically disappeared back to our bus. We did nothing. We didn't have to go and lug our stuff around or anything. They just did it for us. It was so nice. And we continued on our Yellowstone National Park journey that day. So we left the Old Faithful Inn, and we started on some more exploring. Where did we go see this day?
We had several other places that we went to. We went to the Fountain Paint Pot Trail, I guess it is where they have these fountain pots and mud pots, and also some small geysers and stuff too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was beautiful. They had this book kept coming up over and over. Everybody kept talking about this book. Our naturalist was the one who actually told us about it. But the book was called Death by Yellowstone, and it was all of these horrible ways that people might have perished in Yellowstone.
Some of them were just Darwin Award style stuff.
Yeah.
And some of it was just just freak accidents.
Yeah.
But
so everybody was on their best behavior at the paint pots, because you're not supposed to go.
You can't leave the trail.
You can't leave the trail at all, and it's very hot as you get closer to the center.
Oh yeah, the paint pots are right at boiling temperature, and then also the springs themselves are very hot. We went to one other set of springs that was the Grand Prismatic, which is the one that you really think about as being that really colorful, deep blue, and green, and yellow and orange.
Right. Yes.
And so that was really fun too.
That was beautiful.
So a lot of the time when you go to these places, you're on a boardwalk, and so you have the entire section of people who are in the tour, and you got your naturalists who are giving the little talks at each one of these places, and so it just allows you to kind of take it all in, take pictures, and just really kind of explore. And
I felt like we were on Mars.
It's definitely not something that you would ever expect to see.
No, I mean, walking around, I felt like I was on another planet, looking at all of the paint pots and the Grand Prismatic and everything. It was beautiful, but it really felt out of world. I felt like we were on another planet.
Right.
So neat. Okay, so we left there and we went and saw some waterfalls.
Oh yeah, we went to Yellowstone Falls, and so you get to see the giant waterfall that everybody sees in pictures, and we got to go and take some pictures of that and walk the little trail. We got to see Artist Point, which is where the little overlook where one of the artists painted the famous painting of the falls.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Where else did we go?
Oh, we went to the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone.
Yeah, and that's kind of where the falls are, and so you think the Grand Canyon is no, not really that Grand Canyon, but it's magnificent because it's extremely deep.
Yeah, that's why they call it the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone.
Right. but it was really cool, and you got to kind of see what the river has done and cut its way through the landscape over millions of years.
Yeah. So after that, we kind of continued our journey, and we
left Yellowstone at that day.
Yes, we left Yellowstone that day, and we headed to Brooks Lake Lodge.
Right. But Brooks Lake Lodge is this place that's kind of up near DuBois or DuBois? DuBois, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually DuBois, but they pronounce it DuBois because they didn't like the guy, apparently.
Yeah.
So it's a little ranch, like a dude ranch, actually.
It's a dude ranch, yeah.
It's fantastic. I mean, it's the highlight of your trip. And I say that really with caution because, I mean, Yellowstone is magnificent.
For
and
sure.
In all honesty, that was the reason why I wanted to go on this trip so much. But Brooks Lake Lodge is this amazing place.
Yeah, and they kept telling us, our adventure guys kept saying, I can't wait for y'all to get to Brooks Lake Lodge. I can't wait. That it's heaven on earth. I can't wait for y'all to get here. And we were like,
really? Is that great?
I mean, like, it's a dude ranch, you know? Like, and not that I wasn't excited about Brooks Lake Lodge. I was. But, I mean, I was like, hello, we're in Yellowstone. You know, like, why are you so excited about a dude ranch? So we soon found out as we drove up to Brooks Lake Lodge and we all got off the bus, it was like everybody just felt like, I don't know, like we were home, you know? Like,
and they made you feel that way too.
Yeah. We were the only ones there. Like, they close off the resort just for Adventures by Disney guests. So it was just us. We didn't have, you know, other people from anywhere else, other children from anywhere else. We just felt so at ease. And I mean, they had their dogs running around. Moose. Remember Moose? So sweet. So, I mean, it was just like, it was like family. It was like driving up and all of a sudden your family is at the door waiting on you. And
they made you feel at home.
Yeah,
they really did.
They did. It was...
The staff there was amazing.
For sure.
The food there was amazing.
The food there. Oh my gosh, that first night, you know, and we had been eating good all week long. I mean...
Not starving by no means.
No, by no means. So the first night we got there, we had a really nice dinner waiting for us. And
well, back up, walk into the dining hall. The dining hall is just an amazing place, and just kind of really tall ceilings, just furs all over the place. It's really kind of walks you back into the Old West. And then there's this magnificent spread.
Yeah.
At the end of the hall.
Oh my gosh.
With more food than you could possibly eat.
Yeah, it was amazing. And we were all hungry by this point too, and so just it was great. So
one thing I will say, they have an amazing wine list too.
Oh, they did. Yeah, they had a great wine list. The chef there, she was amazing, and she would come out after she was done cooking, she would come out and have a glass of wine with everybody, and just like I said, it was like a family. They all sat down and ate together, and
the staff eats with you.
Yeah, and
it was great.
Yeah, it was wonderful. And then what about our room that night?
So everybody has their own cabin. So there's a bunch of little cabins, and we had the solitary cabin off to the side, which was fantastic. Yeah,
so I felt like we really hit the cabin jackpot. Our cabin was the furthest away from the lodge. So you have the lodge where, the dining hall and everything is, and then you have these little cabins. And our cabin just happened to be the furthest away from everybody else. But the view that you wake up to in the morning...
Really from all of them, but we were partial to ours.
Yeah, of course.
But the view is magnificent. I mean, you're looking out and you've got the mountain range to your right, the Cascades over, and then you've got mountain range behind you, a beautiful lake in front. It's really a sight to see. Yeah, for sure. So, and the little cabin was just so adorable. Like, you walk in and everything's very, very rustic and authentic, but nice and clean. And we had, a little living room, a little table. There's no TV. Yeah, no TV, but you don't need a TV. Did you feel like you missed out? No. No, not at all. I don't think we had a TV at all. I guess we had one in Jackson Hole, but I think that was the only time we had a TV was at the Wart. Yeah, the Wart was the only time we had a TV. But never turned it on. We never turned it on. Why would we need to even worry about a TV? But no, there was no TV in our cabin, but it was really, really nice, and we got a great night's sleep that night after being on the bus that day. I was just so happy and I think that first night was
I was finally able to understand what our tour guides were talking about of why this place is so special.
Within 30 minutes of
Oh,
being
yeah.
there, I mean, you just kind of melted into it, and you're just like, wow, this is such an amazing place.
Right, yeah, I could really see why they chose Brooks Lake Lodge over anywhere else to go, and the way, to the last stop on the trip was, and they spent 3 nights there for good reason. It was probably. I say that there was every stop that we went to, I probably would think, oh, this is the best one, this is the best one, this is the best one. And it just kept getting better and better and better. But Brooks Lake Lodge really was the best one. It really was.
By far.
By far, yeah.
So, kind of what you can do at Brooks Lake Lodge, let's kind of tell them about that.
Oh, yeah. So, days 5 and 6, we were able to just spend the rest of our time at Brooks Lake Lodge, which was fine by me. Like, I loved that place. I could have spent an entire month there. I could probably live there.
Yeah. In fact, I wanted to.
Yeah.
So, kind of the thing is with Brooks Lake is that everything is kind of set out for you to do different activities, but really you can pick and choose what you want to do, when you want to do it. If you want to do nothing, you can sit down and read a book. It really is kind of catered to what you want to do and what you want to get out of it. But they have some pretty exciting stuff to do. We on one day got to go fly fishing.
Yep.
And
you got to pick, in the morning you got to pick an activity,
mm-hmm.
and in the afternoon you got to pick another activity,
mm-hmm.
and so
you got to do everything if you wanted to in 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
So they had horseback riding, they had archery, they had canoeing, they had hiking, they had
fly fishing.
They have several of the professional guides there that take you out and
mm-hmm.
and really put you on some fish.
Yeah.
So that was really, really neat. I took advantage of one of the guides and had a fly tying session with him.
Yeah.
Off to the side, he said, "Hey, what do you want to do?"
Yeah. And I was able to go fly fishing as well, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really fun to be out there, and they taught you the proper way of casting, mm-hmm. and they had the full get up, and one of our tour guides actually came with us on our trip, and she actually caught a fish
she
too.
Caught a fish. First time she's ever caught a fish on a fly rod.
She was so excited too.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I got to. It was a little rainy, and so they still brought the horses out for us though, even though it was a little rainy that day. So I was able to love on the horses and get on them and ride around a little bit. So that was really nice. And I was able to. Do some archery.
Yeah.
Archery. So I was
lassoing.
Lassoing. Yeah, I felt like a real cowgirl.
Yeah. So we had a little bit of inclement weather on one day,
mm-hmm.
and so it kind of made it to where we couldn't do some things.
Right.
So they improvised.
Yeah, they did. They still made sure that we had plenty of options of things to do that we wanted to, and they just made accommodations for the rain. So it was great. What about the activities that we did at night on our
Okay, so by this point in time, we all knew each other. We were all friends.
Yeah, the curtain had been brought.
Everybody was everybody was cutting up. Everybody was having a great time.
Yeah,
and
we were all buddies by that point.
Until we started playing shuffleboard.
Yes, they had a beautiful shuffleboard in there, and we had never played shuffleboard before. I've seen it before, but I have never actually played it before. And they decided that they were going to have a shuffleboard competition.
A little Miss Competitive over here.
I'm not a competitive person, but for some reason, that game brought a competitive side out in me. And I had pigtails that day. I was trying to be a cowgirl, and so I had pigtails that day. And they were making fun of me because I'm Little Miss Pigtail over there, but I was being, it's fierce. I was, trying to win the shuffleboard competition. And I even said, he was my partner, I even said if we didn't win the shuffleboard competition,
I was sleeping in the bait house.
The bait house. I was going to kick them out of our cabin. and I was going to make him sleep in the bait house if he didn't win.
We didn't win.
We didn't win.
Fortunately, I did get to sleep in the cabin.
Yeah, I had to change of heart and let him come back to the cabin. But it just shows, though, that, how at the end of this trip, how we all went from being, very nervous and shy to all of a sudden now we're cutting up and just having a great time. And
I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, this was a bucket list item for me. Going to see Yellowstone, going to see Grand Teton was something that I've wanted to do my entire life, and I've never done it. And as much as that wasn't the highlight of the trip for me. The highlight of the trip was getting to know everybody else that we had on our trip with us.
Yeah.
Because, we really started to bond. We made friends. We made our own Facebook group to where we keep in touch.
Yeah.
And it really is it's a bonding experience to go on this trip together.
Yeah, I would definitely call most of the people that were on the trip my friends now.
Yeah.
We follow each other on Facebook. We like each other's pictures whenever, they post. And
anytime something comes up about Yellowstone, including somebody trying to, taunt a buffalo.
Yeah, we always...
We cut up about it and post it to our Facebook page.
Yeah, so, I feel like that's just the nature of this type of trip, though. You start out being nervous, and then by the end of it, you're family.
Right. You're strangers at first, and by the end, you're very good friends. And
right.
It's an amazing experience. I can't stress it enough. And the adventure guides during this entire time really just go out of their way to make every aspect of the trip phenomenal.
Yeah. There's not. I don't recall one point in the trip where I felt disappointed or felt like if I needed something that they didn't have it to give to me. Like, the one time when I had a headache and they come right out. They were like, "Here you go,"
Oh, yeah. Lloyd had,
She had a stash. Yeah. And so it was.
Okay. So we went and had lunch when we were leaving Grand Teton National Park. We went and had lunch at a little lake.
Oh, yeah.
And it was freezing.
It was so cold.
So we had gone from, kind of down in the valley up into the elevations, and it was a little rainy. The wind was bad. Beautiful place on Jackson Lake.
Jackson Lake, yeah.
And, it was just a surreal environment to be in and to be sitting there and having lunch.
Well, they had a little picnic for us. Like, we are going on this nature walk, and all of a sudden we get to the lake, and they have already prepared a picnic for us, waiting on us. And it was like, where did this come from?
To tell you how prepared they are, it starts raining. We get ponchos.
Yep, they were like, oh, it's raining, here's a poncho.
It gets cold. And what did they give us?
Hand warmers. They were like, oh, you're cold? Here's a hand warmer.
And so we're all going back to the bus to get on the bus, and then out of nowhere, our tour guides show up with...
Yeah, Stephanie and Lori show up with hot cocoa. So we're all literally cold, and freezing, and so they improvised. This wasn't something that they had planned to do, but they were like, you know what? These guys are cold. And so they went into the little store while we were all out there having our lunch.
On their dime.
Yeah, on their dime, went into the little store and bought everybody hot cocoa. And so as we got back on the bus, they were handing out the hot cocoa for us. So it's just little touches like that all throughout. It's exactly what you expect from Disney. You expect those little magical touches, and they for sure delivered on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't talk about this?
Oh, we haven't talked about this. Yeah, so every day on our adventure, we got a new pin. So you pin collectors, this is definitely...
the only way you can get these pins.
Yeah, the only way you can get these pins. This is not sold in the park, so these are all related to the day. So there was, one from the white water rafting. There's one from Yellowstone. From every single day we got a new pin. And I happened to be lucky, and we were on our vacation. We were actually at Brooks Lake Lodge. What better place to be on my birthday? So I woke up on my birthday at Brooks Lake Lodge.
And saw what?
I saw snow. Yeah.
In June.
My birthday's in June, and I walk out of our cabin, and it's snowing. It was the most magical birthday ever. So I don't know, next year we're either going to have to go back to Brooks Lake Lodge, or you're going to have to try to outdo this Adventures by Disney with another Adventures by Disney. Yeah, so that was really fun to be there on my actual birthday, and because I was there on my birthday, I got a special birthday pin. So you don't have this one, only I do.
I don't have that one.
So anyways, that was just another little extra touch that we get with, going with Adventures by Disney. So all good things have to come to an end, I suppose. And on day 7, it was time for us to depart Brooks Lake Lodge. I was so sad. I didn't want to leave.
It was hard. I mean, it was hard saying goodbye to all the staff who had really taken such good care of you.
I mean, there were tears. People were crying.
Oh, yeah.
Hugging each other. We were, hugging Lori and Stephanie. And, I mean, I wasn't prepared to be emotional about it,
No, not at all.
I mean...
You were leaving friends at this point.
Yeah, for sure.
You had friends and you were leaving them.
Yeah. And I truly felt that way, that, it was such a magical time, and I just didn't want it to end. I mean, I was already thinking, okay, when can we come back? So the guys from Brooks Lake Lodge, we put our luggage outside of our cabin, and they went around and picked up all of our luggage and escorted us to the airport in Jackson Hole. We flew back out of Jackson Hole, and that was a good little drive from Brooks Lake Lodge to Jackson Hole.
About an hour.
About an hour, yeah. And so we were on our way back from that point. So it was an amazing, amazing trip. I would highly recommend you taking one of these vacations with Adventures by Disney. It's nothing like what you would expect. It's so much more. Yeah. And
it's worth
it far exceeded any of my expectations for it. And I mean, and this is what I do for a living. I plan these people's trips for all my clients they're going on these trips. And like I said at the beginning, I was so jealous of all of their trips, and I had no idea what to even expect. But I knew it was going to be amazing. If it has anything to do with Disney, it's going to be amazing, and it definitely was. So
we're not disappointed in the least.
Not at all. So I appreciate y'all tagging along with us today and listening to our review of Adventures by Disney, the Wild Wild West Wyoming trip with Yellowstone and Brooks Lake Lodge. And if you don't have a travel agent, I would love to help you plan your next memorable destination. Bye, guys.